it's time for another segment of What Grinds Todd's Gears. Okay, well, somebody needs to get Camden's ass in here. There's no kids in here present, so I didn't hear
grind your gears.
No.
What grinds my gears? My son!
I mean, Camden does grind my gears.
Having children. That little motherfucker.
Camden does grind my gears sometimes, you know. I mean, you know, I coached him in flag football. He's been playing baseball since he's been 3 years old, and watching his tournaments, if I watch him strike out of a kid throwing like 2 miles an hour, that grinds my gears pretty much. But I do want to include him on this segment because what I'm going to talk about he has a funny story behind it as well. Not necessarily in the same capacity that I'm going to tell it, but he can relate to something.
At the gym, he's seen some things.
He's seen some things at the gym.
While we wait for Camden to get here, I will say the gym and / gym bathroom etiquette of people of any age needs to be like talked about, because people think that this is their own home sometimes.
Yeah.
And they just do and show whatever, whenever, at any point in time. Like, hey, there's more than just you in the gym,
I got
bro.
some stories to tell y'all. I got some fucking stories. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, look, okay. Well, let me start about what.
No, I used to go to the gym.
Let me start doing what grinds my gears specifically about the gym. Okay, so it is now, what day are we on right now? January 14th, right? So me and Travis's break just ended for Christmas holiday. So we had a nice 2.5 week break from school. And during that time, we go work out at the gym in the morning, probably around like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And in case you don't know, at that time, it's mostly older retired folk at that time.
I've already been up for 3 hours, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've been up. They usually, but I really do think that most of these people go to socialize.
100%.
I mean, when I'm at the gym, dude, like that's not my thing. Even when
it's like the new McDonald's. You know how the old people used to go to
that
McDonald's?
was my grandma every morning. Coffee at McDonald's.
Coffee.
Yep.
Yeah,
coffee, shitty pancakes, and like biscuits.
Shitty coffee at that time too at McDonald's.
Actually, yeah, McDonald's coffee, and that was pretty good.
Well, I'm talking like 90s and way before McCafe and all that.
But even then, like despite the fact
watching Patrick do this.
Sorry, Patrick is like.
I'm directing your child about
rubbing a shaft.
I'm trying to get Camden to turn the recorder
the shaft
a little bit better. Carry on.
But even though like me and Travis are off, like I still have an agenda during the day when I'm off. Like I don't want to. I want to go in the gym, get my workout done, and get on with my day. Right. So I mean, if I'm talking about what really grinds my gears at this time, I don't like being interrupted during my workouts. I want to get in, get out. But there will be people that come up to you and just talk to you about random stuff that you don't necessarily care about for a good 15 to 20 minutes when you're just trying to get on with your workout. And I'm going to tell you, by the time the conversation's over with, I don't even feel like working out anymore.
You should push through it that just says, okay, boomer.
Or just one that says no.
I push through it, but it's like, man, like by the time it's done, it's like all my pump is gone, my energy is gone. I'm like, shit, I just want to go home.
Do you have headphones? Do you know what headphones are?
I do, but they don't care.
I agree. They don't care.
When I'm like full blown on an elliptical machine, we'll start talking to you while my earbuds are in. So it's like I'm just reading lips. So it's like, all right, I got to take it out. Let me hear what they got to say. And then when you're trying to talk while you're doing cardio, it just tires you out.
Oh yeah,
to talk while you're doing cardio. So I'm like, yeah, man, that's really cool.
And you're at the YMCA?
Yeah.
I don't. Thankfully, I don't experience this at all. Maybe because I go at less densely populated times, and maybe I don't have the age group that you do and deal with. But yeah, there's nothing worse than anyone talking to me in the gym when I'm trying to just get in, knock out a workout, and then get out. I don't care if I'm just doing 45 minutes on the for cardio on the machine or an elliptical, or I'm trying to do like weights. The only thing you should talk to me about is how many sets do you have left, or can I jump in? Can I jump in with you, and then that's about it.
Do you need a spot?
Yeah. No, I don't need a spot. I will purposely do less weight that I know I can handle, so I don't need a spot.
So you're gonna need some sweaty balls over your face, like
just so I don't need people around me.
There you go.
Yeah, I understand that. So, Camden's finally made it into the room. So let's
before I get into let me kind of segue into when Camden talks, because obviously I don't like people talking to me when I'm trying to work out. When I have my earbuds in, I'm in curling a weight, or when I'm fucking running on a treadmill. I don't want you interrupting my workout. I want to get done with it. But what I also don't like when I'm at the gym is when the older folk seem to want to come talk to me in the locker room when I'm changing my clothes. I've had dudes. And this is I'm going to get Camden to tell the story too. This particular dude, he goes in the locker room and he just sheds all of his fucking clothes off and he just starts talking to you. Like, and I knew it. I knew when I saw him in there. I walked in at the same time as him. I'm like, oh, dude, we're going in the locker room at the same time. I'm going to get caught in the conversation with this guy. I know it.
But he has to be naked first.
Well, the briefs have to hit the floor. I was making really good time. I was changing my clothes. So I was like, because he went in the back.
The briefs go down and you hear a thud on the ground. And then he comes and walks to you.
Hey, boy.
So, Todd,
you got any cornbread on you?
This dude don't know my name. But he goes in the bathroom, like, I guess to go take a piss or something, and I'm like hurrying up. I'm like, all right, he hasn't talked to me yet. Let me get my clothes on. Let's go. So as I'm walking out the door, he catches me. And this time he starts shedding his clothes off. He's asking, like, what I do for a living. I'm like, oh, working in school, He starts talking about how he's
in a conversation.
He starts so as he's like dropping his underwear to the floor, he's like, "Oh, I'm in jewelry sales."
Sounds like he wants to put a ring on you.
You should say, "I'm looking at the family jewels right now."
I need to look down to see.
I mean, that sounds like this guy might want to take you to the movies.
I don't understand how old people do this shit. Like, why? What is the purpose of them talking to you? This isn't the first time it's happened.
It's an old person thing.
They think better when they're pretty.
It's not to derail you, what you're saying.
But I think I remember it distinctly because you were talking about how, my dad wore tighty whities. Sean's dad wore tighty whities. I remember we used to be a member of Sunrise Community Club, right? In the locker room, in the little bathhouse, had no fucking walls. It was just an open room. And I'm pretty sure, I remember my dad changing in there. It was no problem putting his bathing suit on. Filling the shower, his big old door open, getting completely naked. Yeah,
it's just old people, man. The lady at the game last night. I'm in line. Russell goes ahead to order. I go up next and I grab the Welch's fruit snacks. And this lady comes up and she's like, "Oh, make sure you don't get addicted to those." And I'm like, "All right, fucking Betsy, cool, thanks."
Oh, they're gonna rot your teeth.
No, she wasn't even preaching. She was just telling me about. But before that, before we got to the front of the line, she's like,
"That sugar's gonna go straight to your ass, son."
She's like, oh, well, they only have Sour Patch Kids and this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I'm getting this and a Coke. And she's like, oh, and she started all this. I'm like, all right, cool. So I turned back away from her to go turn and talk to Russell. And then she comes and she taps me on the shoulder to ask or say something else. I'm like, what do you want? So then I get separation to the front. Russell goes, that's when I go get my order. She taps me on the shoulder again while I'm getting and paying. Just to be like, oh, don't get addicted to those. They're so good. I'm like,
soda's the leading cause.
Can you go fucking die somewhere and leave me alone? Fuck. I just want a Coke and some snacks.
So I used to work out at the Y, and then I wanted to switch gyms because somebody at work wanted to go work out with me at one point in my life. And I was trying to find out, hey, is this the right gym for me, right? And I can't say the name of it because it's tied to my employer. And
rhyme with Schmelmwood?
No. So I was asking around, hey, look, how's this gym? Blah, 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 whatever. And a buddy of mine's like, oh, yeah, well, if you go to that gym, make sure you bring a spatula. And I'm like, a spatula? What are you talking about, a spatula? He's like, yeah, you're going to have to bring a spatula because all the old guys' balls sticking to the bench seats. You have to help pry them off. So yes, it is a thing, and this particular gym had a sauna.
Oh, the old people
Dude,
let it fly in the sauna.
I made a mistake one time going in that sauna just to see what was up and kind of
Just
cool.
a towel on?
Yeah, just to kind of warm up and whatever. It was a cool day outside. I open up the fucking sauna. All right, excuse me.
It was like naked sitting.
You're Muppet Camden.
And they're letting freedom ring.
Dude, they had like 10 old guys in there, okay? Everybody, not even a towel on. Not even a towel on. They were just naked in there talking chit-chat. One guy had a newspaper. It was fucking ridiculous. Newspaper like this. And you see this shit.
His ball is touching his ankles.
It was ridiculous.
Just 10 prunes, just to chill it.
Going back,
weathering away.
Going back to the tighty whitey conversation with Todd and I's dad, Sean's dad. I remember when we had PE at Rummel, my dad would tell us like, "Oh, you're gonna have to shower after PE before you go out to class." And I remember thinking that was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, wait, so we got to get like naked in front of a bunch of dudes in this communal shower? And my dad was like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's like, hell yeah, high five.
And then when we got to Rummel and changed and went to class, we're like, wait, we didn't have to take a shower. And
I was worried about it too on that first day.
And then so that was the way it was when they went to high school. So I guess that maybe it was less shame back in the day, or more freedom because of that. I don't know.
Maybe less educational time.
I can say I never once showered in the football locker room. Like some handful of guys did, but I always waited until I got home to shower. I mean, I'd change, I'd put on, take the sweaty clothes off, but I'd get home before I showered. I wouldn't just like free ball and walk into the shower that we still had.
Yeah. Hey, Bill Murray, you want to come join us in the shower?
So
I mean, there was shenanigans in the shower, and then somebody got ice water.
What's the second bit of the
All
story?
right, so the same fella that was talking to me about how my career and how he's a jewelry salesman with absolutely no shred of clothing on. So I have my son here with me. Tuesday nights, Camden has baseball, and it used to be to where I would pick him up from school, and I had no time to really go home and change my clothes or anything like that. Camden had no time. So I'd pick him up from school, but I would already have his bat bag and his clothes and his baseball uniform in his bat bag so he can change in the locker room. And this was kind of like a routine. I would go work out on Tuesdays, bring him in the locker room. He would change into his baseball clothes, and we'd go straight to, where's he practice? Wood Lake or Bonneville, wherever it is, like right by the Y, basically. Well, one day I'm walking in there, just a normal day, bring him to baseball practice, pull him out of the aftercare, and we're going to the locker room. And I open the door, and I see the same gentleman that was talking to me with no clothes on, bent over by a bench. The first thing I see when I open the door was his fucking balls hanging there.
What, from the other end of
Why is it always a bench? Too?
No, he was bent over. It was from his, like, you see his ass and his balls hanging down.
Staring at his kidneys.
Jesus.
that chocolate starfish.
Oh my God!
So I walk in and I see this shit, and Camden's behind me. So I'm just like, oh my God, oh boy, this is not going to be good. And as I'm walking in the locker room, there's a big mirror. Like I'm facing the big mirror, and I could see his ass behind me, and he's already laughing his ass off. So Camden, tell me, like, what was your thoughts on that? As I opened that door and we saw this old man bent over a bench. I don't know if he was looking for something. I don't know what it was. He was bent over a bench, balls hanging down.
It's not a whole fruit bowl.
What did you think of this, Camden? What was going through your head?
So when I walked in, and we walked in the mirror, I was like tugging my head down into my shirt so no one could see I was laughing. And I was like, if he sees me laughing, I'm gonna get him weird. It's gonna be weird. And then I was like, I just want to get this over quick. And I was putting on so fast so I wouldn't laugh too long there. And then whenever we walk out, he's still naked. Maybe he put on underwear, and then he was still like this.
So, Camden was saying he was trying to hurry up, but I think he was laughing so hard that it actually took longer for him to get dressed than normal. But Camden, like, as you seeing this man like that, what was your thought? Like, why did any thought run through your head? Like, why is this man naked in this locker room like this?
I was like, wow. And second, I was like,
I
wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that with my life dependent on it. I would not do that. Especially with the room crowded with people. Like, I wouldn't do that.
And those old people are crazy.
I can.
They don't care.
Is that where the term grandfather clock came from?
I can picture Camden walking in there and doing his kind of trademark laugh. He's like,
So I have another story about old people at the gym, real quick. I mean, it's not related to being naked per se, but it's funny as shit. So at the same gym, okay, all these old people congregate. And it's it's a thing, okay, and
Like at the chicken aisle.
yeah. So there's one morning. I go to the gym, and I wanna work out, and then we had some extra time. It was me and a buddy, right? We had some extra time at the end, and we go. And this particular gym has pools. They have 2 pools and a big hot tub.
this is the same gym that has the ball stuff.
Yes,
on
same exact gym. So we work out. I tell my buddy, "Hey man, let's go in the pool." He's like, "Yeah, let's go in the pool. We'll hang out for a little while." All right, cool. So we go into one of the pools because one of them was
and there was a man naked.
no
Really naked. Really naked.
one of the pools was like roped off. The other pool, it was a hot pool. You could go in it and whatever. So we went into that pool, and me and my buddy were talking, and we were like, I don't know, maybe 10 feet away from each other, just kind of talking. And in between us comes this little old lady floating.
Oh boy.
Just floating by, right? Like super slow, just floating by, right?
Is she still alive?
Cutting the conversation like completely. Like I'm trying to talk to him, she comes floating by,
Blue
and
hair.
I notice.
His blue hair comes by.
Oh yeah, she was like 90 years old.
Really naked.
90 years old. And I notice what's keeping her afloat.
Is there flotation devices?
If you would call a flotation device.
Okay.
Oh,
Dude, I saw that. I was gonna scream. I was like, "Oh my god, let's get the fuck out of this pool right now!"
We didn't know what was inside that.
Well, I'd say it was
Not
still
at
white
all.
though.
Completely disgusting.
but is it like a newborn diaper though, where it has the blue line that comes on if they pee in it?
Right? No.
I don't know.
So we get out of the pool, right?
Question.
So we get out of the pool. We're like, "Oh fuck this! We're not gonna stay in this pool with old lady with the pendulum, right?" So let's go into the hot tub, right? So we
Mike
go.
thought he was safe.
I thought I was safe. So I get out the pool. We go walk towards the hot tub. They had an old guy just in the hot tub, and he's like sunken down, like to where the water is like by his chin. Right? I mean, it's a big hot tub, but like he's extra low.
He's jerking it.
So my buddy that I went with, he just jumps in, right? Like whatever. He just fucking jumps in, starts talking, whatever. I'm a little, shy to the game, so I'm just kind of easing my way into the hot water from the hot tub, and I just stick my legs in, right? Just stick my legs in. Me and my buddy keep talking, whatever. And at one point in the conversation, right, I'm just looking down in the water.
And all of a sudden you see his balls come.
It's just a little torpedo under the water just floating around.
No, it doesn't involve nudity. So
No.
A turd.
Baby Ruth.
I started seeing the top of the water covered in old people flakes.
Like skin?
Like skin flakes, like psoriasis. Covering and I'm not talking about a little.
It's like grated cheese, like Parmesan cheese.
Like the skin on salmon?
It looked like Parmesan
Scales.
cheese on that fucking water.
Scale.
how about
He just wanted to make the hot tub Italian.
How about have me like the cameraman on Jackass?
I jumped out of that fucking hot tub. My buddy saw it. I'm like telling him, look down. And he notices what it was. He freaking jetted out of there. And that was the very last time
You ever been?
I've ever been in that place.
Wow.
They might got a little PTSD from that.
No, this is why I don't go in hot tubs.
So, yeah. old people gyms just do not mix. I'm sorry, my distinguished blue hairs. You know,
Blue hairs. Wait, hold on. Blue hairs, if you're listening. I'm sorry for offending
stay
you.
out of fucking Zapardos and don't go to the fucking gym.
In the Whole Foods chicken section.
Zapardos will go to business at this.
Yeah, but
Yes.
the Whole Foods chicken section is not necessarily blue hair. It's just inconsiderate fucks that put their grocery cart in front of it and like, what chicken should I get today? Well, does this look like? Oh, this one's
Stay out of my fucking.
It's $11. This one's $8.
It's like, bitch, do you want thighs, breasts, wings, or quarters?
Stay out
Pick
of my
one and
grocery.
go.
And stay out of the gym.
Across those legs.
Oh my god.
So no, that's my little story. It was.
That definitely looks like a dude too.
I will forever remember that. You know, it's a witness in my life that I want to regurgitate.
I thought you were going to see one of the Depends floating along the top of the water.
Oh, that's what I was hoping for.
But can we get some confirmation on whether or not the Pens have the blue line if you pissed yourself?
No, not the pens. That's only for babies. That blue line costs money.
Oh, okay.
I guess they feel like the old people know when they shit themselves.
I don't know if they do.
I know some of them don't.
I've never. So
That's why they wear them.
I don't know 100%, but I've never seen one with blue lines.
Well, I guess that wraps up that segment of what grinds Todd's gears, and it obviously revolves around the blue hairs at the gym, clothing optional.
You damn blue hairs!
I should probably wrap up the episode too. We should probably just end the whole episode on that note.
Well, you know, before
I don't have anything else to add.
Well, before we close out and we got playoff football on, last episode we did talk about, our opinions moving forward as far as what we thought was going to happen with the Saints coaching staff, in particular the offensive coordinator, the head coach, possibly even the quarterback. We on our last episode, we were just coming off of a pretty impressive looking victory over the Bucs, who do happen to be in the playoffs, play tomorrow night. The Saints have since won their final game of the year against the Atlanta Falcons. Keeping the hopes alive until the end of the 3:00 games. But what are y'all's opinions now that the Saints, even though they finished with a winning record, but missed the playoffs yet again? What do y'all think is going to happen, with the Saints coaching staff, or what do you think? What kind of changes do you think go into place for next year?
Doesn't look like anything's happening. Yeah, I think Dennis Allen's job is safe. Derek Carr's, as we discussed earlier, I think Derek Carr is probably staying, even though Patrick's that doesn't matter because Russell Wilson's probably gone.
Derek Carr is, Russell Wilson's had 2 seasons, and with 2 different coaches. Derek Carr, it's only his first one, and he played well enough that he's definitely safe.
Hold on.
I don't think Derek Carr is the problem.
Todd, you're misspeaking a little bit for me. I merely point out that it doesn't matter what your contract length is. You can get cut, removed, demoted, shipped out because based on what Russell Wilson is at. I'm not saying Carr is going to, or that I think he should. I'm more in favor of the coach and OC being gone than I am Carr at this point. Right now, if in my hierarchy, I'm saying in my hierarchy, Derek Carr is not the first person to go.
Derek had some impressive games this season. He really had.
Yeah, and then he also had the Green Bay game.
And he's had really bad.
He had the Green Bay game.
I was going to say, we should add that Green Bay just beat Dallas today, and they probably would not be in the playoffs. We would have been if we would have beat them.
He's just not a consistent
not
person.
blowing that game.
Some of that have to do with the O-line being shit.
And we just got
injuries play into it. I don't.
We just got word our potentially best offensive lineman's career might be over, with the knee injury to Ramczyk, so.
Yeah, you look at what's happened so far this offseason with the coaches who have been let go or retired or fired or whatever. Belichick is gone. Pete Carroll's gone. Vrabel's gone. We know Arthur Smith is gone, but he doesn't really matter because he's whatever. It's the Falcons, so fuck
that
them.
team was shit and they're still shit. So.
Yeah. But you have some really high-profile coaches that got let go and by the organization that has moved on from them, and we're going to have another year, presumably, what it looks like, we're going to have another year of DA and Carmichael the show, and I don't know what kind of hope that even inspires for next season.
Well, I like how they talked about, we got a lot of old veterans, which is great and all this and that, but we need to get younger, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, all the young people y'all are drafting are dog shit, like Penning, and
Penning was
they can't stay on the field with, Peyton Turners of the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the O-line injuries and deficiencies were a problem. Olave is still a young player, but he's very good. Shaheed looks like he's going to be a good talent for the future. Not like box office, but he's going to work well for us. Kamara still has some life. He still has some life in him.
If we don't trade Kamara.
Yeah, if we don't trade him, but like he's still got some value and some life to us. I mean, Carr's not going to set the world on fire. He's not the worst, and I guess that's the problem. It's almost like he's a no man's land quarterback.
Gatekeeper. Yeah.
He's not the worst, so you've seen what the worst looks like, but he's not even like in the top 5, 10 elite. He's not there.
No.
He's 11 to 15-ish range, and that's okay.
I mean, we knew
but
that.
Okay is not good enough, especially for a fan base that came from an elite top 3 quarterback for a decade, basically.
Yep.
But Carr is not my chief concern. My concern is the coach who, as we've seen, the players really will circumvent his wishes and requests and do what they kind of want to do.
Yeah, pretty much the last play of the season was like the cherry on top of it.
Yeah.
They don't respect him.
So we have a coach who players will sometimes not listen to and do their own thing. Although I support them for that, that's a whole other debate for another day of like whether that was the right thing or yes, it was bad to go against your authority figure, but I know why they did what they did.
Yeah.
And I support that.
Yeah.
But
I think from I get Dennis Allen made himself look like a total bitch in that situation, and I feel like
instead of owning it and just dealt with it off stage, like internally. He ratted out fucking Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well,
He still apologized and said,
but even still, like
casting blame.
for me,
take ownership of your fucking team, man.
For me, it goes to this: like, hey,
deal with that shit in.
If you are you're the coach or a staffer or whoever of this team, your number one priority is the Falcons. Beat them at all costs. And
have no remorse for it.
I understand you're like, hey, maybe that's not the thing a coach would do or want done to them from another coach, but it's the Falcons. Yeah. That is our rival. Like, if you're going to run up the score on anybody, it's them.
And to me, it put like the angle of a kind of a depressing season where we knew we probably were not going to make the playoffs because the Bucs ended up winning. I think a lot of fans like to see like, hey, at least we're going to put that nail in the Falcons' coffin.
Yeah.
I was for it as well, and I actually did think Allen called the play, and at the end of the game, when it turned out that it wasn't him, it was a player's decision. It really just made him look like a bitch.
And for whatever you want to say about Winston and his ability to play quarterback and how reckless he is, and his highs are high, the lows are lows, like that 30-30 touchdown interception season. If that was spearheaded by him and he got the rest of the team to rally that, he is a Saints legend.
You can say about Jameis Winston. Everybody on that team admires.
So the dude's a locker room guy for sure.
He can steal crab legs from wherever he wants, for all I care.
He can have these crab chips right now.
Look, we mentioned that. we mentioned that last week where we said that Derek Carr's our quarterback. There really wasn't a debate between him and Jameis as far as who we actually thought was better.
But some idiots thought that.
But Jameis is no doubt a locker room guy. You could obviously see with the players respect him. They respect his opinion. They went along with what he said.
You can go back and find pretty much any teammate of his. They will tell you they love him as a locker room guy. He's a great teammate and all that. I never had a question about that aspect of him at all ever in his life.
And you could tell his charisma.
Except for maybe Deshaun Jackson. When he's eating the view, Deshaun Jackson's face is like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, all right. You can have some quirky things about you, and like that just be a thing.
When you see that gif and Deshaun Jackson,
even the W's are like everyone looked at that like, really, bro? But he's that quirky, funny, want to joke about stuff kind of guy, which is perfectly fine.
Look, I used to hate him when he played for Tampa and like Marshawn Lattimore. Got in a fight with
Mike Evans, the thing with Mike Evans and all that. Yeah.
And then Jameis got
still don't
involved
like you, Mike Evans.
And, all that shit. I used to hate him back then, but then coming to the Saints, seeing his charisma, seeing just the life that he brings to the team in his own quirky way. Look, he doesn't have to be our number one quarterback, but I think as a number two, he is solid for the team.
I think they've already extended him another 2 years, so he should be the backup for another couple of years.
But supposedly there's something with his contract where he doesn't have to stay here, right? Like and he still gets paid. Or
there's no other player on the team that I want to have a beer with.
Absolutely. Well,
Who
I want to have a beer with
on the Saints?
Andrews Pete.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, okay.
I just got a man crush on Taysom.
I do have
But Taysom's from
man crush on
Utah,
the
right?
right.
So he probably didn't drink.
Andrews
No,
Pete.
he's probably warm. Don't drink.
But
I wouldn't mind having a drink with old Rams,
No, we don't.
Looks like
Ramchick?
Ryan Ramchick could pound a few down.
We know our buddy Doug wants to have a drink. with
you know
Andrews
what?
Pete.
Kamara would probably be my two because
Doug wants
he's
to have a drink with the entire practice squad.
He wants to go find Marcus Williams on Baltimore.
I mean, you know what? I'll take it back. I'd love to have a drink with Dennis Allen and poison it.
I would go to some kind of flea market and just buy like rando clothes and go have a drink with Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
And just be eclectic. And
Yeah, you can catch me at your local Rouse's
We'll probably give
anytime.
you some random things. I'll make you a trip balls. And,
You catch me at Rouse's on airline pretty regularly.
By the way, I can assure you that Dennis Allen does not wear an undershirt under his t-shirts.
Dennis Allen does wear tidy whities though.
There you go. That's like the Tom Brady eats Walmart king cakes.
Yeah.
Dennis
I mean,
Allen wears tidy
And
whities.
Dennis Allen also fucking dips his shriveled balls in the fucking cold
A
tub.
funny story about Dennis Allen. You know, Brian Bankston was in town one time while we were watching the Saints game with him. He has absolutely no interest in professional sports or any sport in general whatsoever. All he could focus on during the fucking Saints games was Dennis Allen's man boobs. That's it. That's it. Not anything about the fucking game. Dennis Allen's man boobs.
Damn, the Saints
can,
coach really,
can you
really
trust?
hit the
Can you
bench
trust
press.
a guy that wears like one of those visor hats anymore?
No, because think about it. McDaniel? No.
Well,
Belichick?
Apparently, they're bringing Gruden in to be an offensive
Sean
advisor next year, so he wears the
Came out to be untrustworthy.
So Peyton, Gruden, Belichick, McDaniel, DA. Don't trust dudes that wear visors. Unless you play golf. Golf is the only exception.
It's the only exception.
So I'm, where we talked about why I restarted this conversation is I was the lone guy at the podcast, a couple weeks ago when we talked about what's going to happen with Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael. I was the one who was under the impression that we were cleaning house. I was the one who said, you know what, he's not surviving this season. I think the Saints fans are going to, really lay into, Benson and really get him fired, and it just doesn't appear that way. It seems like the 9-8 season is going to be good enough to save his job, and the last minute win over the Falcons is going to be good enough to save his job. And I don't know if I'm for it. I feel like we talked about what kind of hope does that bring for the future, and really we're kind of at the same point where we've been throughout this whole season. Is the only hope is that our division sucks. And the fact that we can only hope that maybe the Buccaneers don't re-sign Baker Mayfield and they go back to sucking. The Falcons are going into a coaching change. The Bucs also might lose Mike Evans. And Panthers look like they're a ways away from winning games. So that's our only hope. Our only hope is that the division just looks like total crap.
Yep. Nothing about DA brings any kind of inspiration or hope to me as a person, a coach.
I mean, look at his career. It's been pretty
We're
below mediocre.
we don't have the high enough draft stock to do a lot of moves to make impact decisions. We don't have the cap structure to make a lot of impact signings. So we're going to hope that the players we had last year take a step forward, and some of them could. Maybe some of the defensive players play better. Maybe there's less injuries. But like, if that's what you're hoping on, and like I need this to happen and that to happen, not just I have talent across the board. Like
You're looking at a 500 team.
if you're
lucky.
But what was funny, like I was listening back to the episode we did kind of preseason. We talked about where we thought everyone's predictions for the team were. Sean, I think, hit it nail on the head with the 9-8.
Yeah.
But like
I did say winning the division
We
though
said
at
like
9-8.
13.
some of them, I think I might have went like with 11.
Yeah.
That
I
and
was definitely at least 12.
the crazy thing is, they could have done that.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Green Bay game, That should have been a win.
Jacksonville.
So that would have been 10. Jacksonville would be 11. The Falcons away game would have been 12.
Yep.
That should have been a 12-win team
Absolutely.
but with how they look, that's not a 12-win team.
Yeah.
But they absolutely...
All you have to say is a historically easy schedule that we just shot all over.
Yeah. Everything was set up for division win and hosting a playoff game because of division win,
Mm-hmm.
but having probably a lesser opponent to deal with. Then again, who wants to see Green Bay?
Just think if we were hosting the Eagles tomorrow night. That would be a shit show.
We could dump truck. I don't care what the Eagles look like right now. They would dump truck that team because that defense, for as non-productive compared to last season as they've been, our O-line has been atrocious, and they would run through them.
Man, that first preseason game,
We wouldn't be able to stop the two.
where
I know. We would get tush pushed all over the field.
where our offense went out and like scored a touchdown in the first series or whatever. Do you remember that?
Yep.
I thought, man,
We did that with Jameis too, like 2
This is
seasons
like-
ago, when it was like, yeah, we got it all
this is
set.
gonna be it, man.
We finished 7-10.
We're going to the fucking bowl. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
boy, it was all
But like I said, and I guess you could, for most every team in the NFL, you could say the same thing. Like, had this play gone this way, a couple things different way, we'd be in a lot better or maybe worse position. But to look back at how horribly we played some games, and that we still won 9 and could have won more, it's shocking. And I think that's why that DA is going to be around, because the last 3-4 games look good enough to satiate and quell some people that we can build on this and whatever. No,
real quick
you hit the ceiling. You know what the team is.
around the table. The one player that disappointed you the most this season. Go.
Michael Thomas, because he said he wanted to be there and he was healthy, and he made some sort of statements about like, yeah, I can't wait to play with Olave and be part of the receiving core and do this in this season.
Can we also say the player that surprised us the most?
Does it have to be a player? But okay,
Who's the
fine.
player?
I'll say Michael Thomas
Okay.
just because he reverted back to Michael Thomas we've seen for the last 2 years.
All right, go.
That disappointed and then surprised.
We're just doing disappointed right
I mean,
now.
okay. Well, disappointed is Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
1 sack. He
was-
hasn't had that lowest. That's lowest since his rookie year.
Yeah, his age is really good.
Hands down, I was Jamal Williams. Dude was terrible.
Yeah.
We drafted him on a fantasy team as our third running back, and he had 1 touchdown at the very end of the year because Jameis Winston basically fucking force-fed it to him.
Yep, and I was
He looked slow. He had no burst. It was just extraordinarily
I was
disappointing.
excited to get him because I thought he'd be a really good fit for us. I don't think the Saints used him properly. I mean, I don't think his design as a goal line short yardage back, and he got very few opportunities to do that. Carson actually even wanted his jersey when we signed him, so I got him his jersey. But yeah, he looked terrible. But I think my biggest, you have something to say on that, Patrick?
I think the running game as a whole was a disappointment, and it's not so much Williams. Yeah, he absolutely should have played better, but I'm wondering how much of the scheme and the old line contributed to him, because Kamara didn't have a great season. If you look at I don't know what the numbers were. I don't care what the numbers were.
Kamara can make something out of nothing.
I-
Jamal Williams couldn't.
I think Kamara's
a lot of Kamara's damage came on pass catching.
I agree. They're different backs for sure, but I think Kamara's more special than Jamal Williams. I think he can do more with a weaker or less productive offensive line. But I think the offensive line as a whole held both our running backs back from what they could have done. Because Kamara, he probably averaged 3.25 yards a rush per season, maybe 4 tops, if I'm being generous.
Yeah, he was definitely more effective in the passing game
Sure.
than rushing.
Since we're talking about O-line, I'll use that as my segue to my most disappointing player is Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning, was geared to be one of our starting tackles this year. After all, you spent the first round pick on him. And I mean, by the end of the year, he was like 3rd on the depth chart. They basically just said, "Hey, we just gave up on you," and like that to me
basically, you suck.
is unacceptable because you could have had a franchise quarterback at that pick. You could have did so much more with that pick.
Yeah.
And you
We
decided
took Ramchak in the first round. And,
Let me ask you this: if he had better coaching, you think a better coach could have gotten some out of him?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because how many first round talents are on like maybe mediocre to lower tier teams and they're not coached, and then maybe they move on to another team and they look a lot better.
But it's I don't know who our offensive line coach is or how many years we've had him, but usually our offensive line has been one of our strong points of our team. This year was definitely a downfall. I don't know. I think Penning came in like he had that Kyle Turley like attitude to him.
I think that's what they compared him to when we drafted him.
But he, to me,
he had that violent tenacity. I just
I'm
couldn't
willing
see
to
it because he sucks so bad.
I'm willing to extend a younger player a little bit more grace in that like he's learning how to be a pro and learning how to defend veterans in this league at a really tough position when there are so many skilled defensive linemen, things like that.
Yeah.
I think he can be a disappointment.
Yeah.
But I temper a little bit of that because he's such a young player. Whereas some of the veteran players that have higher contracts, that eat up a lot more of our salary and have bigger profiles, and they contribute literally nothing to us.
But I'm also just kind of curious now as far as like because of how bad he played and because of where he finished at the end of this year, like how many more chances is he going to get on us?
Sure.
And maybe somebody else will tap into that potential when we let him go. But
maybe
again,
I mean,
I just look at what we could have had at that pick and say like, all right, we just got Olave a couple picks later. We're going to go with the offensive lineman. We could have had a quarterback at that pick. We could have had another receiver. I always say like, hey, George Pickens was there. And George Pickens is a freaking stud. So I don't know. I would have loved the Olave Pickens combo.
Mine is I'm gonna echo Sean again.
He belongs on Bill Parton this year.
I don't know if it's the age getting to him. I mean,
he said some crap in a press conference. He said something about dealing with an injury all season, and it's like, and I hate that. I don't hate that. To say that or something, and it's like, what? You were never on the injury report. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
It just disappointed me, really. I mean, you're so used to like seeing games where he's like all over the place, and we really didn't have one this year. One sack, yeah. And then he's a new player. We talked a lot about him, like a few episodes ago. Groupie.
There you go.
And look, he's new. You can't expect that much out of him, but like, I don't know, he's very inconsistent.
But
inconsistent, but I mean, he nailed some pretty close kicks too.
I think towards the end of the year, Groupie really got into his own, and I think a lot of his big misses came early in the year. Probably a lot of nerves kicked in. I'm still kind of high on him moving forward.
But I think it's what Mike said though. It was inconsistent. Like he was hot in the preseason. I think he started the season kind of hot. Got cold towards kind of the middle of the season and finished the season on a good note.
He did lose us the Green Bay game. If we would have made that kick at the end, we would have won that game.
I agree with you. He should have never been in that position.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
For Groupie, came in again rookie player. Like he got into an early rhythm. Everyone were hot. Everything was clicking. The minute the adversity hit the team, he went back to what a normal rookie would probably do and kind of clam up a little bit, maybe press a little bit too hard, things like that. But yeah, he definitely could have done more for us, but he also got put in a spot or two that he probably shouldn't have been in.
He started to kind of pick it up again at the end of the year. I think he'll be okay, moving forward.
Olave.
I'd be curious to see what some of the players.
Olave had some drops, but man, like some of those catches Olave made were just ridiculous. Like it was just
that's true. That's true. With, like route running and stuff like that.
I'll give Olave any pass in the world because he held that offense together. He's borderline great. He held that offense together when Kamara was not very effective from a rushing standpoint. We know we talk about Jamal Williams. The 3-yard screen game was horrible.
But what I'm getting at with him, he has the potential of being elite, and he was nowhere near that conversation this year.
He's my favorite player on the team, but so I'm always a little biased towards him. But at the same point, I think looking into this season, I think the situation looked like it was supposed to be him as the number one, but Michael Thomas as like a borderline number one, slightly number two. And then you had Shaheed coming in as that number 3, deep threat receiver. And Michael Thomas was Michael Thomas again, where he just, had started out the year looking okay, and then after that, just got hurt again, sat out the rest of the year. So again, I blame a lot of it on Michael Thomas too, because I think Olave, yes, he needs to start going into these seasons with the expectations of you're going to be our number one guy. We want you to be a CeeDee Lamb type, but at the same point, I don't think he was fully expecting that this year because we thought we were going to have a healthy Michael Thomas. But anyway.
And I think that's a shame on the people and personnel that put him in that position because he absolutely is your number one.
Mm-hmm.
Unquestioned, he's a better talent.
You can't expect Michael Thomas to be healthy. You just can't.
Even if Thomas is 100% healthy, and you gave me, if you told me Thomas,
Olave's better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you told me Michael Thomas is healthy for 17 games, cool. You're still my number 2.
Yep.
Olave can do more. He's a better receiver. It just hands down. If Shaheed could take and improve on the route running and get off the line better when people try to press him, he would be great. I don't want him to get stuck in being a one-trick pony because he's just fast and a speed guy. Because Tyreek Hill is a speed guy, but Tyreek Hill runs really good routes and makes his way. I would love Shaheed to take that kind of trajectory of like, hey, work on your route running, your craft, and don't just be a speed guy because it would be unfair to label him as just a speed guy because though he is and he's dynamic at it, he looks like he can be so much more. He's not a route runner like Olave is, but he can run routes and he can get open and get some separation and use his speed too.
And I know we don't have probably much cap room to do anything, but I think if this season proved anything, it's time to part ways with Michael Thomas. And I would give whatever money we have to try to go get like a T. Higgins or something like that in this offseason.
Yeah. If the Bengals don't pick him up, he won't.
I think they basically already said they're not.
Kind of, yeah.
Because they know Chase is due for a big payday, and they still got Boyd.
Yeah, and they got to manage that because I don't hate Boyd. I don't love him, but he works for them.
He's a serviceable 2-3 receiver.
He's a 3.
I like Boyd a lot,
but I don't know how Boyd's going to do as a 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the worry. Like, is it going to be too much for him? Because they're absolutely going to double Chase and just let Boyd. If Boyd's something that's going to hurt you, sure.
Yeah.
And
Boyd was before Chase got there. It was Higgins and Boyd.
And they were fine.
Yeah.
But he as a 3, he didn't elevate himself when he got single coverage a lot because of those other two.
This is no knock on Shaheed either. Like, Shaheed made some wonderful plays.
Oh, I love him.
In our offense, I like him as the number 3, deep threat. Yeah, both of the 1-2 covered. So again, I think if we can get a guy like Higgins and have Higgins and Olave, it'd be.
I agree. I think Shaheed could play himself. I think
Shaheed is basically Devery.
He could play himself to a 2. He's probably
more if you're
best as a 3.
What's Ted Ginn up to?
I would just hope Shaheed doesn't take the mentality of being a 3.
He's still in the 49ers.
He's still in the league. Snead might win a Super Bowl this year.
I love you, Willie.
Yeah.
Travis mentioned that. Was there anybody it surprised you on the Saints?
Nope. Surprised? No.
I'm actually going to say one.
I got one.
Paulson Adebo.
Yeah.
The dude went from being like a freaking straight up number 2 to number 3 cornerback to having. He was top of the league in interceptions for a while this year.
Yeah, look,
he surprised the hell out of me.
I actually thought Alontae Taylor was going to kind of make Adebo, take a back seat this year, and it was kind of the opposite. Like, I'm kind of excited to the fact that if Lattimore can come back healthy and you have Lattimore and Adebo out there and, Taylor be your nickel or something like that, he was my pick too. Like, he really beat my expectations for sure.
I'll go and I'll take a Adebo from this standpoint. I was not surprised that he played the way he did towards the middle end of the season and playing so well at some points because I feel like we have the defensive coaches to coach all our players up to be good and better. So I didn't really focus on honing on the defense a whole lot. But yeah, he would be my surprise if I had to pick one. Shaheed might be because I love what he is able or could do. I just want to see more of it.
I actually have one more. Carl Granderson too.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude went from virtually a no name to being a top defensive lineman in the league for probably the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Definitely outshined anybody on the defensive line. As y'all mentioned, Cam Jordan is kind of
He'll have a career year next year, and then we won't have money to pay him, and then he'll sign with the
He
Bengals.
almost kind of sort of made you forget about Trey Hendrickson, but not really.
Yeah.
I still have not forgot
When you watch Bengals games, you definitely remember Hendrickson.
Yeah, he's
Speaking of
an
Trey,
That's the guy we. That's the guy
Speaking
we
of Trey
let walk
Hendrickson,
without-
what happened to Marcus Davenport this year? Where's he been?
He's on the milk
Doug,
carton.
where was he at?
He's on the milk carton.
He was supposed to be playing for the Vikings, but I never heard
I think
his
he
name
got
all
hurt
season.
again.
Yeah.
And then
Meanwhile, Trey Hendrickson still an absolute animal.
since we're talking
It's
about
about to be the Carson
since we're
Wentz
talking
show in
about
this
since
game.
we're talking about invisible first round picks, where's Peyton Turner?
Hey, he falls on fumbles like the best of them.
All I know is he was
Oh.
dancing like a white dude when I was at the Tulane game. He was dancing like a white dude on Houston's sideline.
To kind of wrap up some of this, going back to like the overall totality of this team, of the coaches that have been let go, is there any coach that you reasonably want to consider if we could make a change at head coach?
I would take Vrabel or Belichick, honestly. I mean, obviously Belichick's a legend. I don't like the guy, but he's a winner. He's a winner.
Does the possibility of Belichick going to the Falcons concern you any? Because it kind of does to me.
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, I think it would be another thing where if he went there next year and I think his first year he would still be going through some growing pains there, but you just know the kind of guy he is. He's eventually going to turn the team around.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if Belichick was available, I would do dirty things to a gentleman in some red boots to get Bill Belichick on this fucking staff.
Snakeskin red boots?
Yep.
Leather pants.
Yep.
Big buttered up movie popcorn.
Yeah. Free hanging balls and all. Go get me.
No tidy whitey.
Get me big balls, Bill,
But
right now.
I agree with what Todd said though. Like if the possibility of Dennis Allen being gone is a possibility, I like both of those guys.
I would take. Vrabel would be fine. I think he's got the right mentality. He's not like Dan Campbell, like
I mean, Dan Campbell
try
would
to chew your
obviously
kneecap
be-
off like aggressive, but he's got that dog kind
I
of
would take
mentality
Dan
to him.
Campbell over anybody in the league. Man, in my opinion, I just love the guy.
Campbell's not going anywhere.
Would you take Mike McCarthy?
We already had Mike McCarthy. No,
Not as head coach, but yeah.
he was OC. He was offensive
Well,
coordinator.
I keep saying it. You know, I said it last episode.
Run, pass.
Even though we had a bad year this year with the Chargers, I would take Kellen Moore over Pete Carmichael any day.
I'd take Pete
I
Carroll.
would take Ken Dorsey over Pete Carmichael.
I'd take Pete Carroll.
Yeah, well,
I know.
It's another guy I
Players
can't-
love him.
Another guy I can't stand though.
That's fine.
He's another guy that can win.
He can play defense. He can coach offense a little bit. The players love him, and I think him like Jameis Winston in the same locker room with Pete Carroll would be dynamite for the team in terms of like morale and like that.
I would take Coach O. Go Tigers!
And on that
I don't know
note,
if Coach O can coach on a pro level.
I don't think Coach O. I don't even think Coach O wants to coach anymore. I think he's
Coach
he's
O is-
worried about going to bang 20-year-old co-ed to the
Co-eds.
beaches.
Hell yeah!
Coach O spends his days in California running shirtless on the beach, just living life, enjoying himself. I wouldn't come back to coaching if they gave me that much money to buy out and stay home. I'd be shirtless on running on the beach every day too.
Yeah.
Now, one guy who would probably also be a decent coach who I don't want just because I don't like the guy is Jim Harbaugh.
I'd sign him in a heartbeat. I know he can coach, and I know he can develop a quarterback.
But would you bring a pair of Walmart khakis for him to sign at an autograph signing?
Yep, I'd wear Walmart khakis and a jersey.
Sign the ass cheeks.
I would wear Walmart khakis and put on and buy a custom Harbaugh jersey with whatever number, like 1 on it, just for him because he can at least fucking coach.
Even though they may look like Walmart khakis, something tells me they're not Walmart.
Probably not.
Yeah. Dude's got so
It
much
costs a
money.
lot of money to look this
But no,
good.
But then again-
there was a freaking ESPN special saying that's where he bought it from.
No, that family is they're not cheap, but they just buy the basic rugged without that. They're Walmart khakis.
Oh, but what it pleaded.
But the man,
DJ's you.
the man can coach. I fully believe he'll end up either now maybe at Dallas. If Dallas opens up after what they did today, Dallas might open up. I can see him going there. I could see him going to, but I guess the Chargers the most likely because they also need a GM, I believe.
Did the Bears fire Eberflus?
No, I think he's staying.
No, he's staying.
But I think the Chargers. I think the thing is, their GM spot might be available to where he can make more decisions.
I keep hearing the Chargers and the Falcons are the top two to land Belichick.
Yeah, it's those two for him. Harbaugh.
Is Belichick really a good coach? I mean,
Yes.
he's already up there.
100% yes.
I was wondering if he would take
His press conference gave you every indication he wants to coach next year.
Okay.
But again, so if you speculate, the Dallas job might open up. Do you think Jerry Jones will go get Belichick?
I knew Belichick wanted to coach when he did this.
Yeah.
Just stood there.
Yeah, the Dallas one's going to be interesting if it opens up.
Belichick's about as entertaining as a dry dish rag.
I agree. Coach's defense, though. He can get him to play. He can probably help Dak a little bit, maybe. Either way.
We talked about the blue and yellow. They're kind of making a little comeback right now.
Yeah.
It is a game.
Definitely pulling for Detroit, but I would not be surprised if the Rams win.
So, I mean, I think we hit everything on the board today, boys.
Yeah.
We don't have a shot currently to toast out to, but that's okay. We can just sign off.
That's still Austin sitting up there.
I mean, we could. We don't have shot glasses in front of us. All right. But,
You want to take a pause?
no, can't really do that.
Okay.
So,
We could do it in no particular order.
all right, yeah. So, Mike, we'll just do it at a level.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll redact that. All right. Mike,
Redacted.
Mike,
Yes.
welcome back. Glad to
Thank
have
you.
you back
Thank
on the
you.
pod. We missed you.
Thank you.
I
Hiatus,
hope
was
you
painful
enjoyed your
for me
vacation.
as much as it was for y'all. I'm so happy to be back. This has been a very, very fun podcast today.
And long.
Amongst
what she said.
friends, banditos. We're here to stay. 2024. We love you. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, listen. All the things. We're on Spotify.
Amazon Music, Apple Music. We're everywhere
We're
now.
fucking everywhere.
Instagram.
Big things coming in 2024.
And I'll say, and last but not least, look out middle of next week after the Arctic blast that we're about to go through. There might be some merch dropping that you could be able to either purchase. We'll see.
And look, people, if you're at the gym, keep your damn clothes on and keep your opinions to yourself.
And stay out of fucking Zapardos.
That PSA has been brought to by the Wasted Wagons, and we're out.